The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. What's up, guys? What's the reason for this podcast? I'm Kodi. This is Shay.
Howdy.
And we have a special guest, Wyatt Ellis, with us. But first, I want to talk about a little bit about something you guys may have been seeing on social media. And it's kind of a big deal. Shay, what do we raise so far?
We are at 16,518 big ones.
That's dollars, folks. $16,518. How many tickets have been sold?
It is 5,333 tickets.
Over 5,300 tickets to how many different people?
271 so far.
So you have a 1 in 200, well, no, it's 1 in 5,300 and something chance, right?
Yeah.
But of 271 people, you can win some pretty cool stuff. And you know what we're going to do right now is we're going to make sure that old Wyatt here, he has a brand new 45 out with Pete Rowan that we're going to discuss a little bit later in the episode. Wyatt, would you mind if you signed a copy and we can give it away as one of our prizes for the raffle?
I would love to.
Ah, hell yes. Okay, so you heard
great.
it here first, guys. We keep adding prizes every day. We're adding more prizes. We're going to add this signed 45 by Mr. Wyatt Ellis. You will not want to miss this. I don't know if you guys have already heard it, but we will go into that a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit about Wyatt after I plug the raffle tickets. One last time. What's the reason for this.com/relief? If you guys haven't been paying attention, we have been running a fundraiser for Drew Dauphin's family. They have a GoFundMe page, which is very close to reaching their goals there. You can donate directly to the GoFundMe. If you want to have a little more fun and a chance at winning some awesome prizes, please go over to what's the reason for this.com/relief. Buy some tickets for our fundraiser. Let's crush this. We are going to be drawing on the Sunday of the Ball Arena shows at Billy Strings. So that's like the 26th, I believe.
Yeah, the 24th, 25th, 26th, that'd be the 26th.
So when we recorded this on Friday, it'll be 16 days from then. So we have a lot of time. Let's raise as much money. But right now, let's focus on Mr. Wyatt Ellis. Wyatt, what's going on? Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going good.
Man, I tried to not sound like a creepy 39-year-old guy when I was explaining to Shay. I was like, listen, dude, I've been following this little kid for a few years and he just rushes them. And he's like, what? And I was like, no, please, like, not just listen. And I like sent him some of your clips and what's going on. And so for those of you that don't know, Wyatt is a mandolin player and he is a phenomenal one at that. You actually won the 2024 Monumental Instrumentalist of the Year, right? For
Momentum
Bluegrass?
Instrumentalist of the Year. Yeah, I did.
Man, and how old are you?
I'm 15.
You guys.
That's insane. Wyatt, I gotta say, you're better at the mandolin at 15 than I am good at anything or will ever be in my life. That's fantastic, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Well, bro, and at 15, so like I've been watching you since, I guess I would want to say it was like in the middle of COVID. I had told you I saw this video of you in a living room similar to the dungeon, to the podcast den.
Yeah.
And you were sitting there ripping with David McLaughlin, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, one of the best of all time.
Yes. So like that's what's crazy is, and we're gonna talk about all these different people that you played with. But so like, all right, so you're sitting there ripping with David McLaughlin, one of the best at all time. Do you remember what video I'm talking about?
There's been a few with me and David, but it was probably
I think
in
you're
his
like some mandolin camp.
maybe, but David has he has an old inn in Winchester, Virginia that's like from the 1700s, I think. And he's had it since the 80s, but still an inn to this day, and he runs it. And it's just a pretty awesome place, and there's a lot of bluegrass history in there.
And you're just sitting in the den picking with a legend.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and he's a legend in the making, folks. So let's talk a little bit about how this started. So where was the influence from music, and like when did you first pick up an instrument?
So I would have to say, well, the first instrument I started playing at like 6 was the piano. I just kind of dibble-dabbled in it a little bit, and then I heard the Osborne Brothers when I was about 10 years old. and they were playing Rocky Top, of course. And I heard the mandolin. I was like, man, I really want to try that. So I got one. And then I heard Bill Monroe, Peter Rowan, Stanley Brothers, and all the greats, and got hooked.
You say all the greats, yet there are people that still follow up around bands like Billy Strings and some of these others who don't necessarily know all those names that you're talking about. So
Yeah.
you obviously have a long-standing tradition of following some of this foundational bluegrass musicians, right? But for a 15-year-old, that sounds crazy. So like, where did this come from? Is it someone in your family? What was the love? And you're from East Tennessee, correct?
Yeah. I was just drawn to the old style of bluegrass music and country as well. I like everything. I love jazz as well. I like all sorts of music, but I was really drawn to that, old ancient tone style, as Peter Rowan would say, bluegrass music.
And so was the mandolin the first string instrument that you had picked up before?
It was, yes. It was my first string instrument and still my favorite.
So then, because I've seen you play the acoustic guitar as well, right? So like,
I do.
how old you were about 10? Is that what happened when you really started getting into it?
Yeah, I picked up the mandolin at 10. Then I think I picked up the guitar at like 12. And I play as much guitar as I do mandolin nowadays. And I'm getting a little bit into country guitar with the Telecaster and all sorts of stuff nowadays.
That is awesome.
I've read that you also, do you dabble with the fiddle as well?
I do play fiddle, yes.
Triple threat, buddy.
So we got a John Hartford in the making. Pretty soon he's gonna pick up a banjo. We're gonna make sure that Wyatt is a one-man band. So let's go from 10 years old. You're 15 now. So math. So 2020 is when you picked it up.
Yeah, I think I got one like in late 2019, but I was starting to play like in late 2019, and 2020 is when I got serious.
Well, in 2020, isn't that when you got the Tennessee Folk Life Apprenticeship?
It was. I think it was in 2020. Yeah, with Sierra, and that was an
Sierra Hall. I wish that we had a bell for every time that Wyatt talks about names.
just a name drop
ding,
counter.
Name drop ding. But yes, so Sierra Hall, let's talk a little bit about that. So what entailed with that apprenticeship? Like, what did that mean? Like, you literally just picked up this instrument within a year, and now you won this apprenticeship from Sierra Hall, right? Like, she had nominated you, or how did that work?
Yeah, so she'd called around to a bunch of great mandolin players and heroes of mine, and she was asking for a young kid that really had a lot of interest in it and was doing good. And I think my name came up a few times, and she ended up reaching out to us, and there it is.
And that's all she wrote. So with that apprenticeship, how did that start to like open up doors for you? And then obviously with some of those doors being open, you create that passion, right? And you're really starting to do it. But 2020 was also a very weird time for us, right? Because that's right before COVID had kind of hit. So what was that kind of like?
That helped me in a bunch of ways, because I was learning from as many sources as I could during the pandemic. Chris Henry and David McLaughlin, as I mentioned, Sierra, and a few others did a lot of workshops. I did some workshops and stuff, and I'm learning a little bit of jazz mandolin from Michael Daves nowadays. But yeah, just as many sources I felt like as I could, kind of soak up from.
So you think that 2020, because musicians were stuck at home, it actually helped you, because then you were able to connect with them, kind of like how we're doing here over video?
Exactly. Yes.
So then you were getting lessons, and they were literally like breaking some of these things down for you, or how did that work?
Yeah, exactly. Just over Zoom, and like not many people had even like really, I don't think, got into Zoom lessons before the pandemic. And just that ability to connect with their heroes online makes it a lot easier to, just go out and pursue something.
That's awesome. So was there anything specific with that folk life apprenticeship that came with it, or was it just kind of that they were trying to mentor a young musician to get them going. And then
Yeah.
was Sierra a recipient of that award herself? Because I know that she was similar to you. She blew up at a very young age.
Yeah, I don't think she was, but I think that's, probably more of a little bit of a newer thing, but, it's pretty awesome what they're doing with that. It could be just about anything. It's not just music for those
Oh,
apprenticeships,
really?
but
So
yeah,
it isn't just music.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
but
That's super cool.
it's like art forms, I think.
Okay, so it's just any type of art, and they're just supporting, and they're
Yeah.
trying to elevate these young people into
Exactly.
a life in the arts.
Yep.
So you're in the middle of the pandemic. So had you already been working with Chris Henry and David McLaughlin before some of this stuff had happened? Or what was some of that timeline?
That it kind of just all started, kind of overlapping, just right there in the pandemic. And I started doing those Monroe style mandolin workshops, which I think was the biggest thing for me, because I'd have to go in every week and learn a new Monroe tune, a deep dive into it, learn it note for note, and get all that
What was
good
the first Monroe
criticism.
tune what was the first Monroe tune that you had to learn?
That's a good question. I actually remember the first anything from Monroe that I learned was his kickoff and breaks on Working on a Building. That's the
Nice.
first thing that I learned from
That's
him.
awesome.
They're just breaking down little chunks of that.
Yeah, just in little chunks at a time and getting it. And then I got into some of the classics like Old Danger, Gold Rush, Old Ebenezer Scrooge, and then even into some of the Monroe tunes nobody's ever heard of. Like, I think there's like so many. Pocahontas is one of my favorites. Nobody knows that one, but
I don't
there's so many.
even know that. I'm not going to
There's
sit
so
here
many. There's so many good
BS you.
tunes
I don't
that
even know
people
that
don't
one,
know. Yeah.
But that's what's so crazy is, so like, I have been obsessed with this. I saw Yonder Mountain String Band in the early 2000s, and Jeff Austin played a John Hartford tune, and he's like, "Hey, this is a Hartford tune," and that for me as a teenager was like, "Hey, who's John Hartford?" Right? But I mean, as teenager, I was probably like 16 or 17 by that time. And so for you to be 15 and already have like all this foundational history of this traditional bluegrass sound, like as a mandolin player, and like some of these choppers and players, and like finding your own style, how was that to do that? I guess because we're so used to like watching people pick, right? Like getting
Yeah.
together in a living room and doing it together. So how was it for you to kind of find your own style while you're sitting here behind a screen like we are here, and not necessarily able to like feel off of each other?
Yeah. So like I said, I was soaking up from so many different sources, and I got all those different styles in there, and I guess it kind of all got blended up and
You
spat back
came
out.
up with your own.
Yep.
So who was the first mandolin player that you really saw and you're like, "Hey, I want to play like that"?
I mean, it has to be Bill Monroe, and
Right.
yeah, it's just so good. I remember the first
And
concert I ever saw in person was Ricky Skaggs, but at that point
That's
I was
awesome.
already deep into Bill Monroe, so
you were
No,
deep
it's
in
all
the
good
funk,
stuff.
and then
You have such an appreciation for the history and the ancient tones and all this stuff that just goes way back
Yeah.
generations of music. And that's what I found so interesting. Do you own a mandolin that's over 100 years old at this point, right?
I
Or do you still own
yeah.
that? Yeah, that's
do, yeah.
incredible.
And there's actually going to be a big gathering in Knoxville tomorrow of those old Lloyd Loar mandolins
Oh, that's
and old
awesome.
banjos. Yeah,
That's so cool.
it's going to be fun.
When
so are you
when an
gonna trek
instrument
through
gets
the
that,
snow?
Say that again.
Are you going to trek through the snow to try to get down there?
We're going to try.
Sorry,
the-
Shay, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say when you have an instrument that's that old, I'm assuming because you hear people talk about like the Stradivarius violins and things like that are just have this very specific tone and there's really no recreating it. When you have a mandolin, like I'm not a professional musician. I don't necessarily pick up on the more subtle things like the tone and
Yeah.
the intonation and things like that you would. I just don't have the ear for it. way too much really loud heavy metal when I was a teenager. But does that affect how you have to play it and how it sounds? Like, are there certain things that you would do with that mandolin versus, you know, something newer that you would have gotten
Definitely.
that's more modern?
Yeah. So like when I'm on the road, most of the times I'm playing my 2020 Gibson Master Model that I got in 2020 for Christmas that year, and that's been my main mandolin. But that old one is just really special, and it was actually Marty Stewart's old Lloyd Lore, and it's a pretty special mandolin, and that actually leads into the winds of Rowan County.
So Marty is another like foundational musician.
Yes.
But you have had a relationship with Pete Rowan for a really long time, haven't you?
Yeah, since I think it was, and what year was that even? That IBMA award show? Wait, this year it was 2024, 2023.
Well, I know you did his Hall of Fame.
Was that in
2022?
22?
22, you did his Hall of Fame intro.
Yeah, that's it, yes. And that was when I first really connected with Peter, through Chris Henry. He was doing a camp, and he was not able to make it to play with Peter for that induction and that whole weekend at IBMA. So I think he called up Peter and, you know, asked if it'd be okay if I filled in for him. And the rest is history. I showed up down there at the hotel room with Peter, and I walk in shorts and a t-shirt, and he goes, "I hope you got some long pants, boy."
You got to dress proper for those shows, man.
Did you? Or
Yeah.
are you going, Mom, you need to go buy me pants immediately?
No, I
pants,
had
Mom,
plenty of clothes.
Well, actually, that's actually kind of fun because you have quite the fashion style, and that's what's so cool is seeing like this teenager, and he's got this country getup, and he's at the Grand Ole Opry. Or I want to back up to Marty Stewart, because didn't you reopen Ellis Theater with Marty?
I did, yeah. And I'm actually going to be back down there on February 1st. So
yeah, so
anybody
that's one
down
of your
there can
upcoming
check
shows,
that out.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, is Alice Theater. But like, so this is just insane to me, and people don't even understand. So like, this young man picks up the mandolin, and then within 3 years, not even, he is reopening one of the most historic theaters with one of the greatest bluegrass musicians, and that was just the start, right? Like it was just the beginning.
Yeah.
So talk about, how does that feel to walk onto a stage with Peter Rowan for his Bluegrass Hall of Fame introduction?
Oh man, that was crazy. You know, all of my heroes and everybody in bluegrass music was in that building. And you know, it's just about the biggest stage possible in bluegrass besides the Opry. And you know, I don't think I was really nervous at that point, but it really did feel special.
How much experience did you have playing in front of live audiences, though? Because I mean, in COVID, you didn't really get to like share yourself. So like, I don't think
I had been on the Opry or anything at that point, but I had kind of done a little bit here and there, just randomly on stage.
And so, do you remember what the first song was that you played on stage?
So I have to.
With Pete?
We did a showcase. We did a showcase at IBMA, and I am either thinking it was Katie Hill or Uncle Pen, one of those two. I know we played both, but I think one of the first songs we played was one of those two.
That's amazing. And so you're sitting on the stage with one of the greatest bluegrass musicians of all time, singing one of these hallowed tunes. How does that feel for you? Like, as this young man, like, I got excited that Billy Strings sent me a text message, right? Like, you're playing on stage with like these icons. How does that feel?
It's just truly special. That's what the bluegrass community is about in so many ways, is welcoming the young people and helping them out.
And that really is true. Like, you see that now. Yeah, like, there's always, like, that's what one of the things that kind of sucked me into this was this whole genre of music is just what you said, Wyatt, is you've got all these guys that have been doing this for decades, and they take somebody and they go, okay, now it's your turn. We're going to put you out there. and support
Yeah.
you and help you succeed. It's really awesome that way.
That's definitely for the most part. Yeah.
And those introductions with Rowan, was that at the Ryman?
No, that was actually in Raleigh at the
Oh, it
big
was in
theater
Raleigh.
at that big theater near the Marriott Hotel.
Wow. So then when was it? Did you play Ryman or the Opry first?
I played the Opry first, and I actually just played the Ryman for the first time last week.
Oh, that was your first time when you were
Yeah.
winking? Oh my God. When Daly and Vincent playing Rawhide, I
Yeah.
sent the video to Shay and I was like, okay, because like I sent him when your instrumental album came out a little while ago. I sent it. I was like, oh my God, you guys, like I said, I've been gushing about you. I've been watching you level up. And so like to see watching you go from like picking on videos, right, and social media and like showcasing some of your stuff to now showcasing some pics with some other people. Now you're on stage with some of these musicians. Now you're composing and creating your own music. You were doing some
Yeah.
instrumentals. And then so like you're on stage with Daly and Vincent and they literally knew what you were gonna do, right? And they're like, hey, let's burn this one down.
Yeah.
And I sent it to Shay and you are just a flamethrower. You're ripping. And I commented on one of your socials. I was like, I love the wink. Because at some moment you found the camera, you winked, and you just went right back into it. And I was like, that is a showman.
I don't think I did it on purpose, but
Don't tell people that, Wyatt. It's okay. It looked amazing. But like, how do you continue to advance with like, because like, yes, I think nowadays a lot of us like the rapid grass and the fast paced bluegrass, but like a lot of the old traditional stuff isn't as fast as sometimes you were playing. And so now like, how do you shift that and how do you change those dynamics while like still being respectful to the past by adding your own spin and speed to it?
Well, a lot of that old bluegrass stuff was just as fast. It's just a different type of drive. That like back in the day, they would still have all that. They might not have been playing as fast, but they had more drive and power on it, and that's something I try to keep and push to the next level sometimes for sure.
And then you also you go with a single mic, right? When you're performing normally?
Yeah, so like with my band, usually we'll have the single big condenser vocal mic like I got right here. It's actually the exact mic. And a lot of times, I'll have like a clip-on mic on the mandolin or something, but besides that, it's mostly the one mic.
Which is amazing. And so I want to go back to some of this composition and with Pete Rowan, like how this relationship started to establish. So he told you to put pants on. You're like, yes, sir. You get your britches on and you start going forward. How did that relationship continue? You said that all the old timers kind of brought you in. And I mean, it's literally a laundry list of the people that you have been able to be on stage or play with, right? So
Yeah.
with Pete, how did you continue to harbor this relationship? And then how has it blossomed into something so beautiful as these these singles?
Yeah, we just stayed in touch. And back to the story of Winds of Rowan County, I actually had that old mandolin and I was going to play it on Peter's induction. And I was telling him the story of how Marty Stewart had it, and Marty Stewart actually played that mandolin on the concert to raise money for Bill Monroe's gravestone. And as soon as I said that, a big gust of wind came and blew Peter's hat off, and he was like, "You said Bill Monroe's name," and all this stuff. And it's just so awesome. It's a true bluegrass experience. And
That's pretty powerful.
And guess where the name The Winds of Rowan County came from? Right there.
So-
That hat blown off.
Yeah.
So he remembered that. So can you talk to us a little bit? So like, hey, playing some of these classics, learning some of these classics. Because I mean, what people don't understand is you're writing your own music, right?
Yeah.
So how does it go from like Happy Valley was an instrumental, right?
Yes.
So like, how was it for you as a teenager to sit down? And I'm pretty sure it was a 10-song album, right?
Happy Valley 12.
It was 12. Okay. I remember 10 of them had hit the charts. So
Yeah.
like it's a very, very successful album. how long did it take you to write some of that stuff? And how did your relationship with David McLaughlin and Chris Henry and Pete Rowan and Marty Stewart and some of these folks really help you curate and hone in your skills to then progress and start writing your own stuff?
Yeah, so, I'd just been soaking up so much stuff, and that kind of started to spill over into some original tunes. Some came within 30 seconds. Others took a couple days. And a lot of those tunes on that album were co-writes. And just like the Winds of Rowan County, I had wrote the whole instrumental part, and that tune was going to be an instrumental. But Peter's over in Ireland, and he sends me an email that he's got words for it. He said he goes, I have words for your tune. And I was like, I didn't know what to expect, I knew it would probably be good because it's Peter Rowan. And
he knows what he's doing, I'm told.
I think so. And I got it, and it was amazing. And when it really came to life was in the studio.
So let's talk about that, because if you guys haven't, go follow. Wyatt is, as any teenager should be, he is incredible on social media, right? So you can follow him on Facebook. You can follow him on Instagram. It's at Wyatt Ellis for both of them, correct?
Yep.
You have a great video where you kind of show a little bit behind the scenes of recording that song, right?
Yeah, that's brand new. Yeah, I think that was actually filmed by Joseph Cash, and that's Johnny's grandson, and he does a great job, and he's done a lot of my videos for Happy Valley and this as well.
That's insane. And so what he was documenting was literally the process, right? And so
yep.
Chris Henry was there. I saw him in the background of the video.
He actually, me and him actually play some twin mandolins on Winds of Rowan County.
Oh, that's beautiful. So
close.
He's playing one, you're doing it. He's the second mandolin.
On just a little part. Yeah.
That's so cool, man. And so with Pete, once he said, hey, I have lyrics for your song, were you like, oh, okay, well now I'm going to sing these lyrics that Pete Rowan? Or how did it come about where this iconic voice, right? Like Pete Rowan has one of these, like one of the most beautiful voices in our scene, and it's very iconic, and you can hear it and you're like, hey, I know what that is. So now not only did this man write you the lyrics, how did it come about that he said, hey, I want to sing on your track?
Well, he had the words, and like there was, there's no way anybody can do Peter Rowan lyrics better than Peter Rowan. So, we already had lined up for him to play rhythm guitar on the track. But when he had the words, it was like, man, that'd be awesome to get Peter singing all through it. And you can hear at the end, he's yodeling and hollering all throughout it. And it's really special.
Well, it's really powerful, right? And
it is, yeah. Ancient tones.
Right? And how is it for you as this composer? You thought it was going to be an instrumental, right?
I did.
So like,
I did.
How did it feel to like have that composition and that collaboration with another musician to see like I think about it, something simple for a big man like myself, like, oh, hey, I can cook this meal. And then somebody comes in and says like, hey, well, have you ever done this with that meal? And now it brings it to like a whole nother level.
Yeah.
How does that feel to like know that you made the base of that, right? And then somebody came on and now they've made it that much more special.
It's pretty cool, just to have a collaboration like that with a all-time great and Hall of Famer like Peter.
Yeah, like and it's so cool because obviously Pete has lived an extremely prosperous life musically, right?
Yeah.
And he's coming into the final chapters of his journey where you're just starting on the first chapters of yours. And so
yeah.
I don't want to call it like a torch, because I feel like people can talk about that a lot of like passing something on, but you talked a lot about how the old timers are bringing up some of these younger musicians. Shay and I are both over twice your age. So we turned 40 this year, Wyatt. We're old, right?
Oh,
yeah, I know. It's terrible.
That hit.
Yeah, but think about a 15-year-old thinking about 40. Then it makes us feel like 80. So that's really gross.
That's fair.
But so like, bluegrass was not a genre that was like hip or cool, right? Like it wasn't anything that a lot of people like got into. So to see a young man like yourself that can kind of take this and know that it's in good hands for the future, not to put that pressure on you, right? Like you can choose to be whatever you want, but like you continue on this journey and think like, hey man, when I was first getting going, I listened to this single I made with Pete Rowan, right? Like
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
how
Yep.
awesome is that? And then
It's pretty awesome.
things like the Grand Ole Opry, right? Like
Yeah.
so that was 2023, I want to say, is when I saw when you got on there. Is that right?
Yeah. So I went on for my first time with Daly and Vincent, but my official artist debut came later that year in November.
Okay. So then you were able to go on. Did you play by yourself?
I
Or
played with the band. I had Justin Moses on guitar, Corey Walker on banjo, Mike Bubb on bass, and Deanie Richardson on fiddle. And Sierra Hull actually came out and sang a high baritone part on Tennessee, and we played Grassy Cove together out there.
wow. How awesome is that?
Pretty cool.
So then do you guys sit and do you talk about it beforehand to say, hey, here's what we want to play. I'd love if somebody sit in. What does that look like for you? Or do you just say, hey, this is what we're going to play as a band. If somebody comes in, then they're just coming in and this is what we're playing. Or is it more planned?
Well, it was definitely a full circle moment to get to play on that stage for the first time and have all those people that had helped me so much. Like Sierra, getting to play Grassy Cove, we wrote that one together. So, it's just all came back around into that moment.
And so you're writing all this music, and I know that you're with a label now. What did that look like? Were you doing these tracks independently? How was it that you were recording some of these things? How did it work early on in your career?
Yeah, so I actually have my own record label, and that's what I'm running off of Knee High Records. But early on, we just got in there and tracked those tunes, and it was just like a snapshot of a time when I was, connecting with so many people online.
It's awesome. And so when was it that because I remember like I'm going through my brain of all these clips, remembering you like shred with people. And one that sticks with me very clearly was you, Jared Walker, Billy Strings.
Yeah,
Was it Christian was there, I think? I feel like there were some other people in there playing as well. And
yeah.
I'm sorry that I don't remember, but they're literally propped right in front of two elevators. I don't remember what hotel that you were guys at. There's some lady that's trying to get off the elevator in the middle of this pick, and they're just ripping. And this lady's trying to push through Jared Walker to get through to go to her hotel room because it is literally just like crammed full. When was that? What happened? Because I just saw it and I was like, oh my God, how cool.
Yeah, you need to get down there soon. It's Spigma, and it's a big bluegrass convention in Nashville every late January and early February. And just things happen there, and Billy was out in front of the elevators. He showed up for a little while and just got to picking, and you can imagine how many people
just got to picking.
show
Ellis,
up.
Wyatt, how does that happen, buddy? You just like rip this thing off your back. You're always ready to go, like Robin Hood with his bow and arrow. Like
That's the way.
Yeah. That's the way. I love it.
That's so awesome. So then they're just sitting. How does it start? What did you guys like? What does that go through? How does that feel to like? Because like there's such a connection, right? Like these guys are like listening to you, and you have that eye contact where it's like, hey, let's let him break it down. All right, now it's so and so, and you kind of run through some of that stuff. And so how does that feel to now you're going with like these foundational legends to now like these bands that are huge on the scene now, and you're elbow to elbow with them, buddy.
Yeah. It's just another amazing jam, and just a bunch of musicians getting together and picking.
Do you have a favorite session that you have had with anyone, or like an impromptu moment that you didn't have anything? And obviously we're not trying to pick favorites, but just maybe like one that you like completely didn't expect to happen, like playing with Jared Walker in front of the elevators, right? Like,
Man, it feels like everything's kind of been an impromptu moment. So, it's kind of
yeah,
hard to
you
choose.
have been super blessed. As a huge Telluride Bluegrass Festival, I have to ask you, when was the first time you played with the mayor of Telluride, Mr. Sam Bush?
First time I played with Sam Bush, I think was in Owensboro, somewhere in Kentucky. And it was,
Makes sense.
I think it was in Owensboro, and me and Peter, or not Peter, but Sam, me and they had wanted me to come up there. That was a surprise moment as well, and they was wondering if I wanted to pick a tune with Sam to open up this show, and I was like, of course. So we got
Man,
up
you must
there.
have ice cold veins, Wyatt, though. Like, I feel like somebody would ask me to like go do that and be like, you have like that oh wow moment, and you're like, oh wow. But then like you just get past it, and I feel like you have this great personality where you're like, hey, this is just what it was, right? And
Yeah,
then you go to doing what you're doing. I did notice that in a lot of your early videos, you're always sitting down. So was it more of like a comfort thing? And then, or how did that kind of work?
no, just picking around the house. Tend to sit down more than I stand to play, but when you get out and play on stage, that's a different story.
Oh,
You know,
listen, we've seen the foot taps now. We're getting there, buddy. And that was another thing I wanted to talk about because you talked, Pete Rowan talked about telling you to wear pants. Your getup, man. Your the different clothes, and like you come out shining. You never made that shortened T-shirt mistake. I bet again after that moment, because you have come out looking great on some of these huge iconic stages, and I love to see it. So who's helping you with some of that stuff?
well, just kind of go with the flow and whatever works kind of deal.
Well, but so
I
like, do you see stuff? Because like some of this, I remember you came out with some old chaps. Like it looked like 1980s bluegrass band had
yeah,
come up on
that's
stage.
yeah,
You know
so
what I'm
that
talking about, right?
yeah, so
Yeah.
those are like, I think most of the stuff that I wear on stage is like HRC brand, I think. So,
That's
it's
awesome.
really old school.
Well, and that's so cool. So like, because you like Shay talked about earlier, like you have such a fondness for the history and the richness that comes with it, and
Yeah.
then even like the style of it. So how does it come about where now you're starting to create your own songs like The Winds of Rowan County, but then let's
Yeah.
talk about what's on the B side, right? Because like,
Yeah.
so if you haven't listened to it yet, go on Spotify, go on anywhere that you can find the music. You can look up Wyatt Ellis. It's with Pete Rowan. The A side is The Winds of Rowan County. And then the B side or the back side is a Doc Watson cover, isn't it?
It's actually a Bill
Oh,
Monroe
yes, it's Bill
tune.
Monroe.
Yes.
It's a Bill
It's
Monroe tune.
Jeez, Cody.
I wish
it's
that I could re-record this so that I don't have to eat my words, but I'll
might
keep
as
it
well
in.
do it.
No, we won't do it. I'm true to myself when I mess up. I knew better. It is a Bill Monroe tune, but can I be honest with you, Wyatt? It's the first time that I had heard you like truly sing,
Yeah.
and the way that you harmonize with Pete Rowan in that song is beautiful. Like I don't
Thank
know
you.
if you are now getting like singing lessons or what's going on, because a lot of the stuff I've ever seen you do is just straight ripping the mandolin, sparks are flying off that thing. But now
Yeah.
to see you add some lyrics and some vocals to your music, how is that? How is that? And then like, okay, I'm singing with Pete Rowan. Like what?
Nowadays that's my main focus, just working on that. And I've got some stuff, behind the scenes that I've been working on with my band. That's been a massive part of this year and my story is the band that I've been touring with, and we've been working on some music and some good stuff, a lot of singing and a few original things in there.
And so this band, it's you're obviously the front man. Is it Wyatt Ellis? Is that the name of the band?
Pretty much just the Wyatt Ellis band. And, the band members shift around a lot. Sometimes on guitar we'll have Alex Leach, great East Tennessee traditional bluegrass player. And other times we'll have Chris Henry. And there's been quite a few other special guests. And, just had a
So
lot of...
is it hard with some of the moving parts to not have the cohesiveness of a band that plays
No,
together a lot?
it's all, we've played together a ton. It's all people I've played with a ton. And for the most part, it's pretty consistent.
That's awesome. So then for you guys, are you planning on now to make an album, get out on tour? I know if we go to wyattellis.com, I saw 2 shows on there. One of them is that February show at Ellis Theater, right?
Yeah, there's
And
more
then-
coming.
Yep. Okay.
And
so
they'll be
are
announced
gonna hit the
sometime
road.
soon. Oh, yeah. And we're probably going to have some more new music out here in the next few months, too.
That's
Right.
awesome. So this is literally just the beginning. And for you folks that don't know who this young man is, go and take some time. He has a YouTube channel where you can see a lot of his old clips. You can go on Instagram if you have short attention span. He does a great job of getting some reels out there. He's been promoting his 45 a lot with this Monroe tune and his Winds of Rowan County. And so it's really special. But what has been the difference for you? Like, okay, so you did your instrumental, right? And now you have these songs with Pete Rowan. Now you're starting to get your own band and you're starting to come out with no music. What does it look like? How does it feel? What should we be looking for from Wyatt Ellis in 2025?
I'll just keep out picking as much as I can and, just keep finding different parts of my musical game and keep pushing the music forward while keeping it very, traditional at the same time.
That's awesome. You're not trying to shake things up too much, but you're also trying to make it your own. So then I always try to ask musicians, because this is like, for Shay and I, we're idiots, right? So like we would come and see you and we would be screaming like, oh, hey, I want you to play Rawhide, right?
songs or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever it is. If you had to pick one tune to rip, what's the one that you would want to play?
That's a hard question. I really love to play my original tune, Blue Smoke. And
which
I would
is
say
a banger off that album, Happy Valley.
yes, yeah, that's one of my favorite tunes to play. And I'd have to say a close second would obviously be something like Bluegrass Breakdown or Rawhide, something like that. Just a
That's
classic
awesome.
mandolin tune.
Well, just so you know, I would be screaming West Dakota Rose at you forever. And
Oh,
we'll
I
just
forgot about that one. Oh my lord,
That's
West
a big
Dakota
one.
Rose.
Chris
That's
Henry. Okay, because I will tell you, so that has always been like, and Shay knows this.
got to be in my top 5.
It is a phenomenal song, right? And I always call, when we go see Billy, I call Jared Walker my baby bird, and I'm like, set my baby bird free, because I love the mandolin. So
Yeah,
if you just let the mandolin shred and just let him go, I don't care about any, but just let the mandolin sing, just let him go. And so West Dakota Rose is always one of my favorite songs. I was lucky enough to be at that Asheville show where Chris Henry came out and played with them. And that will forever be one of my greatest bluegrass memories, is watching them play that song, because it's just so powerful. I tell people that love like Southern rock, it's like a bluegrass version of Jessica, right? Like, you don't need any words. It tells the story. It is just like, it's powerful. It is there and it hits. And I feel like it's a jam vehicle and you can just like let it fly. And so Blue Smoke, I can definitely see how that would be something favorite. Was there something when you wrote that song? Because you said it can be 30 seconds to a couple days, right? So
that was a 30-seconder.
Really?
Yeah,
It just came to you.
Just bam.
Yeah, it just came to me. I was just sitting on the couch looking at the mountains, and there it was.
Just ripped it out. And like, so
Yep.
So
I
does
have a
it like
question
click?
about that. I would say I don't want to interrupt Cody, but that's fine. When you say that,
Interrupt.
so it just comes to you, and and I hear a lot of musicians say this. So as somebody who doesn't have any, I've never written music before, and I'm not sure how that process works on a technical level. Do you hear it before you put it to the mandolin? Like, can you hear the notes in your head and you go,
It's
"This is what I
different
want"?
every time.
It depends on the song. Okay,
Sometimes I'll think it and then play it, and other times I'll just be noodling and it comes. It's
just kind of
there.
organically, you're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's good. What can I do next? Oh, that's even better. Let's do that."
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
So since you started with playing the piano, are you really into reading music and writing out notes, or is it more of a hearing it thing?
I think when I
How does
started to
it work?
learn by ear is really when my music exploded, and that was big vehicle for me to be able to get to write tunes and to you know play on the fly.
You were once
Because you
told
didn't.
you wouldn't make a good musician because you didn't like to read the music, right?
Yeah, that was by my
Yeah.
first piano teacher.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I had read that, and that just seems so funny to me to kind of say, like, clearly you've got the natural talent, inclination for it, but they're like, well, no, that's not the right way to be an artist. You need to do it this way.
Yeah,
That's so cool. And so like you just feel it, right? And so like
yeah.
what I always love talking to people about, like when you have that jam or you're picking, like do you just feel it? Do you kind of know where you're trying to go? Like how does it work when you're
It's all in the moment. It just happens, and there's no real explanation. It's just
I'm
just
sure you won't
happens.
get this because you're only 15 years old, but I always tell people when they're like, oh my God, that sounded so great. And I'm like, no, I'm like Will Ferrell in Old School when he gets to the podium and he's trying to talk and he just blacks out and he doesn't remember anything that he says. And he comes back and he's like, how did I do? Right. Like, I feel like that's kind of how it is, right? Where you like literally like something just takes over and you're just like in it. But then it's not because I see you looking at cameras, like winking and like getting onto it and like having that confidence on stage. Like you're starting to build that, right? You were doing this as like a 12-year-old and now and like you're 15. I know you're a young man, but you're still so young, right? And like you have such this immense talent that's why it's so cool to see our community lifting you up and building you up so that you can continue to grow. What I wanted to make sure wasn't happening was that there's not too much pressure being put on you as this young musician, right? Because like people are like, oh, he's a prodigy, or oh, these young musicians, and sometimes it can burn these kids out, right? So like, do you feel like we put too much pressure on you to perform or to continue to grow?
No, it's just music. Just get out there and work as hard as you can and do the best that you can, and that's about all you can do.
Well, what else are you doing what else do you do that's like typical 15-year-old boy stuff? Or are you just like straight honed in on the prize?
No, I love to fish. I love
Oh,
to fish.
nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Are you a fly fisherman or a spin caster?
Oh, just about everything. I love to
Just
fish
about
for
everything.
bass mostly.
Nice. What's your biggest one you've drawn in?
What's your PR?
Mm, I didn't have a
We need
scale.
more fish photos,
Uh,
Wyatt. I have
I didn't
not
have a
seen
scale. It's
I have
still up
not
in the
seen
air to
any
this
fish
day.
photos from you, young man.
That's awesome.
I need to get one of these. I need to get one of
Yeah,
these.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so it's like
Okay.
sometimes it's funny to ask people because they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm really into this," and they're like, "You know what? I really have been digging whatever it UB40," and it's like, "What, dude? Like what?" But no, that's okay. We'll get on to something else. So like, so you like to fish. How often are you playing and practicing every day?
The lure, the mandolin, the old
Oh, the
Like the
Gibson
lore,
mandolin.
backstory of the old
Yeah,
oh,
mandolin,
the
yeah.
backstory of the mandolin. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
and
I
that
can.
Lure,
ties
not
that ties
lure.
that ties
Well,
into the
see, I thought
fishing.
I heard fishing. I heard fishing, and I was like,
It
oh,
ties into the
oh, but
fishing too.
oh,
So
it does.
yeah,
Okay, so
so
then, so how does this? I'm just an idiot, right? Like that's totally okay with that, and that's
yeah,
okay. I heard
so
lure. He's talking lure. We're talking about
yeah, old
100-year-old
Gibson.
mandolin.
Yeah, Lloyd Lure mandolin, and I actually sold my bass boat to get that mandolin. And you can always get another boat, but that mandolin is really special.
So, and that you bought it from Marty Stewart?
Not directly from him. He had it in like the 80s and 90s, but I got it from a collector through Carter Bennett
Awesome.
Guitars.
That's crazy. And so
102 years old?
It's a 1924, March of 1924. So
Okay, 100 years old.
It's almost 101.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, that's more of a special occasion. Is there a certain song or something that you would pull that out for? Because you said you're normally ripping your 2020 Gibson, right?
Yeah, just, it's something I can fly with, and it's got a pickup. Of course, the old one doesn't have a pickup. So I don't use a pickup much. I don't think it sounds that great on a mandolin or anything in general, but the old one doesn't have, it's just, it's old. So it's not something you're going to want to fly with all the time and take from Maine to California. But
Until
it's got
you
a
get
really
to Billy
special
status,
sound.
and then it gets a seat right next to you, and you just buy your mandolin a plane ticket.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about the laundry list, and we haven't even gotten close to all the people that you have played with. The last question I want to ask you is: there's still someone out there that you do want to pick with, and who would that be?
Everybody asks that question, and I can really, it's a hard one because, there's so many, and I picked with so many of my heroes, I would say that it'd be cool to get to pick with David Grossman. I've never picked with him. That'd be cool.
That would be absolutely amazing. The dog.
Yeah.
All right, so now we got to get on Sam to get his dad to hook this up and figure it out. So, all right, if you guys haven't been paying attention, this is Wyatt Ellis. Your band, the Wyatt Ellis Band, is coming out with some new music. You're going to be releasing a tour here soon. We have 2 shows that we know for sure that are coming, but you are having a tour upcoming. Is it in a specific, because a lot of the times you're staying close to home. And that was the other thing I was going to ask. How are you doing this at 15? Are you going to school? Are you homeschooled?
Yeah,
or how's that work?
I do an online school. So, it's just on a computer.
So you're just, when somebody tells you, oh, I got to go get it done, have you been doing that since COVID, or how long have you been running with the
I've been
online
doing that
tour?
since before COVID. I've been doing that since 3rd grade, actually.
Oh, wow. So
School.
it wasn't something that like came new to you.
No, but it worked out great with the music because it gave me a lot of time to pursue it.
Well, and then if you were doing some of these online courses before, I guess that would actually have made you even better for during that COVID time to prepare for some of these Zoom classes interactions because you were already kind of used to it.
It was still a big shock coming from I went to a few bluegrass festivals, maybe like 2 bluegrass festivals before the pandemic. Then it all got shut down, but the online thing wasn't totally new, so yeah, that helped.
That's pretty awesome. So, is there a festival? Is there a venue that you want to go and play at coming up soon? Is there somewhere that what are your aspirations for 2025, and how can we help you get there, Wyatt?
Well, first of all, I'm going to be at the Ryman again, playing mandolin for Ralph Stanley II on January 17th.
Awesome.
And that'll be pretty awesome. But I think just to keep on chugging along with that traditional bluegrass and keep putting a little bit of a fresh spin on it.
That's awesome, man. And now my last thing is talking to any other super determined 15-year-old that may be out there. What would you tell some of these young musicians to do to focus on their goals and their dreams? Obviously, you came up and it was a lightning in a bottle. It happened really quick. But what would be some of that advice you'd give to some of these younger musicians?
My advice would be just start from the beginning. Start from your Bill Monroe, your Stanley Brothers, and all the greats, and just put in the work.
Put in the work. Well, let's get to work, you guys. Let's get to work. Well, I can't thank you enough, Wyatt. I really appreciate you taking the time. For everybody that doesn't know, go check out Wyatt Ellis. It's the Winds of Rowan County, and you can catch him on Spotify. Your website is wyattellis.com, correct?
It is, yes.
They can purchase 45s from that website?
They
And they
can,
can
yes.
and they can follow you on Instagram, Facebook. Is there anywhere? YouTube? You have a YouTube channel as well,
Just
right?
about everywhere. Just about everywhere. Yeah, Wyatt Ellis.
Yeah, go find him, you guys. This will not be the last you hear of him, and I hope that this isn't the last time we get to talk to you, buddy. I look forward to
Yeah.
catching up with you and continue to support you and lift you up and watching you grow, man. Not to sound like a weirdo, but I love it. I love watching you grow.
Thank you
I
so
love seeing the
much. Yeah.
talent, and keep kicking butt, man. Keep doing it.
I will.
Living your dreams.
I sure will.
All right, perfect. We'll see you guys next